All right, y'all, I want to educate you on a real estate term called earnest money deposit, or EMD. If you don't know who I am, I'm Kim McBride, also known as Get Keys with Kim. An earnest money deposit is also known as good faith money or a good faith deposit, and it's something that a buyer gives to a seller. We'll put gives in quote, we'll talk about that later, but gives to a seller for consideration when they're putting in an offer. So not only is the buyer saying, yes, I'm serious enough about this house that I'm willing to put in a contract, but they're also saying, I'm also willing to put down a deposit as well. The amount of this deposit can really vary, especially from state to state and contract to contract and person to person. But on average, at least in Maryland, I usually tell my buyers to put down at least a 1% earnest money deposit. So if they're looking at purchasing a $260,000 home, their earnest money deposit is going to be about $2,600. If this money isn't held by a real estate broker, sometimes it's held by a third party known as a title company or an attorney. That money is held in a non-interest bearing account until you go to closing or until the contract no longer is moving forward for whatever reason. If the purchase of this home actually makes it to the very end, to settlement or closing, then that earnest money deposit is just deducted from the money that a buyer will bring to the table for their down payment or their closing costs. However, if for some reason the contract does not make it to the end, there are certain instances that we won't get into today where if somehow in the contract things don't work out as planned, the buyer can also get that money back. So usually it could be like an inspection or an appraisal. But again, we'll talk about that on another video. This is why it's extremely important to work with a realtor so we can explain some of this information to you, because it is legally binding. Although EMDs or earnest money deposits are not required to go along with a contract, it is usually standard. And I hate using the word standard, especially in the real estate industry, because nothing is standard. Everything is negotiable, right? But most people are used to seeing money or some type of deposit that comes along with the contract. The biggest thing to know is read everything that you're signing and know the ins and outs of the contract, or have a realtor to explain the ins and outs of the contract to you, so you're never in a position where you're losing that earnest money deposit. If your real estate agent is telling you about deadlines that are coming up, it's very important that you listen to your agent, because those deadlines and failure to meet them could mean the loss of that earnest money deposit. However, if things work out as planned, you're going to see that money again when you get to closing or settlement. Those two terms are oftentimes used interchangeably to say the day that you get the keys and you sign off on the documents, and now, kaboom, you own a house or you sold your house. I hope you learned a little something today. If you have further questions, feel free to drop them in the comments section or send me a DM. Of course, like, share, and then come back for more. Get Keys with Kim.